Good afternoon. I'm Janice Kistler, the Morgan County Public Library Reference and Genealogy Librarian, here to talk to you about February being Black History Month. Now I'm going to share my screen, and if all goes well, you should see something different with me up in the corner. There we go. February is Black History Month. And Martinsville, Indiana has more than one reason to celebrate Black History Month because of the story I'm about to tell you. Some of you may have heard it before, but it bears repeating. Back on March 1871, a baby boy was born near Bowling Green, Kentucky. His parents were slaves, so he never had a chance to learn to read and write. But that didn't stop him from devoting his earnings and his life to boys in Martinsville, Indiana. Now, sometime around the turn of the century, in 1900, he made his way from Bowling Green, Kentucky to Martinsville. This is a newer map. I couldn't find an older map to show you. And I'm sure it took him longer than 3 hours and 44 minutes or 3 hours and 38 minutes to get from Bowling Green to Bloomington. And once in Martinsville, he came to Martinsville, not Bloomington. Once here in Martinsville, he secured a job as a porter at the Martinsville Mineral Springs Sanitarium. His name was Albert Merritt. With his earnings, tips, and donations, he bought a small building at the north end of town called Doc's Club, or the Out of Trouble Club, as it was called. It was a place where local boys could gather to play games, go on field trips, enjoy swimming excursions, and sports events, and attend church, and so forth. His death notice estimated that over the years, Doc's Club was a second home for around 2,000 boys from 1902 to 1957. Somehow he managed to keep the club going during the Great Depression. If not for his work, a great many boys might have been lost to activities that might have prevented them from serving our country in World War II. Fast forward to 2017, and Albert Merritt's legacy still lived on. The Martinsville Little League Park is named after him, and the Martinsville Youth Development Center was named Albert Doc Merritt Martinsville Youth Development Center. And there is an award that goes to a local volunteer leader who has a positive influence on youth and who demonstrates Merritt's high character, values, sense of fair play, and devotion to God, according to the Reporter Times of April 16, 1999. I do not know if this award is still given. I need to do more research on that. And indeed, the boys were taught honesty, truthfulness, and good citizenship at the club. Many may think he was the only African American to reside in Morgan County. They would be mistaken. John Reed staked out 80 acres along Indian Creek, several miles southwest of the site of Martinsville, according to African Heritage in Morgan County, Indiana, by Coy D. Robbins. John Reed received a patent for his land on October 25, 1920. He and his family continued to expand their land holdings, and in 1844, his will bequeathed a total of 250 acres of farmland and woods to his 7 living children. But even before the Reeds made their way to what would become Morgan County, John Goss, a slave owned by Ephraim Goss, living in the Indian Creek area during 1818. He received his freedom on April 18, 1815, when he and his owner lived in Washington County. Census records indicate that the total of African Americans living in Morgan County ranged from 7 to 150. In 2010, there were about 20 African Americans who resided in Morgan County. The purpose of this presentation was to focus on facts about African Americans who lived in Morgan County. However, while researching this, I found newspaper articles about the Underground Railroad in Morgan County. Possibly but kind of doubtful, the former Cura and Hensley Funeral Home, now the home of the Morgan County History Center and Museum, was a part of the Underground Railroad. Again, a possibility, but maybe doubtful considering the time period when it was built. Many slaves made their way through Morgan County via stops on the Underground Railroad. County maps with probable locations can be found in the library's vertical file labeled Underground Railroad. This means there were African Americans in the county before Albert Merritt and possibly before John Reed. It is doubtful that they stayed very long. Perhaps a future monthly history and genealogy talk such as this one will be about the Underground Railroad in Morgan County. Until then, you've been watching and listening to Janice Kistler, reference and genealogy librarian at the Morgan County Public Library. Join me next month for another presentation about researching your Irish roots.